Alright, what's going on, people? This one here, I like to talk about tips on error checking when you're doing your LFS system. And a lot of times people get bogged down. They stop when they see an error, which is the common thing to do when you're installing a system. You may be in 2 hours, 3 hours, and boom, you hit an error, and you're like, oh my god, now I have an error or something. And that can actually freak you out a little bit. Okay, but with LFS, errors are common. They're normal. They happen, right? And a lot of the errors are not documented. Some of them aren't documented anyway, I should say. And don't let that error really trip you up. And keep in mind, your goal here, your goal is just to get through the operating system, through the install. Okay? And when you're building an LFS, you'll get errors. Some of them you can push right through, and some of them you'll know when you can't go any farther. But to sit down halfway through the operating system, say, let me pull up something here. Sit down halfway through the operating system, say you're at GCC, and you did some, you did make a check, etc. And you got a error up here, say even 1 of 7 or something, or something else like that. You'll see things like this here, especially when compiling GCC. You see a lot of that going on. Or where's bin utils check? Actually, it doesn't go over in the book. I don't think it goes over in the book. No. It doesn't really go over in the book, but it does go over in the text document. Maybe I should go find that. Say, links, LFS book. Bin utils, maybe. Where did it go? EIO. Doesn't even go over here either. But you may see errors, and when you see errors, don't get dismayed at them. Okay? Say something like, when you're installing something, you have output, you did make install, okay? And you have a long line of stuff here, and all of a sudden you see you have, error, fail, okay? And you're at some point. You look at the error as they're bound to happen, and just try to push through. So if I got an error, say a GMP or something else like that, after I installed GMP, I would just push through and see if I can go to the next step. Okay? And NPFR, same thing. You'll know when you can't do any more. When you run a configure and you cannot make install, that's where you'll have to end. And then you'll have to judge for yourself. You'll have to say, alright, well, do I want to go ahead through? Do I want to keep going now, even though I can't install this one program? Do I want to keep going? Or, you ask yourself, do I want to turn around and start from the beginning? And a lot of the times, that is your best bet, to turn around and start from the beginning. Now, sometimes what I do is, if I run into an issue, I extract the package, I get a configure, and I make it won't let me, or make install won't let me. I say, alright. So first thing I do is I first delete the extracted package that it was just in, re-extract it, and jump back in it and try it again. Okay? If that fails again, then I know I have a serious issue. Right? To actually get stopped and stop right there and say, alright, I have an error, now let me go Google the error or whatever. That's a last resort. And I mean, that's a last resort even after you start over. And if you hit that same spot again and get that same error again, I would even say start over again. And by the third time, if you hit that same spot, then you can go ahead and start Googling and say, alright, so maybe I can't install this the way that the book is telling me I can. Okay? So, expect to fail. Expect to fail often. It's normal. Okay? A lot of the errors, some of them they cannot document. They error check and they document some of the most common errors that may occur. Right? But I know I have errors that they can't document, and they don't stop me from installing the rest of the system. Some tests might fail, some checks might fail, etc. But they really don't. They don't stop me from installing my system. Now, there's been times when I've gotten all the way even. When's the last time I failed? Was it UDEV, Linux? No, I think it was XZ. Was it Grub? No, it was Kmod. I failed on Kmod one time, and if we look exactly where Kmod's at, Kmod's in section 6 point something, and it's way down there. I was already in like 18 hours into the build, and I failed this like last week, you know, and it was griping about some things. It was griping about something. Why did it fail? I have no idea. I have no idea. All I know is it failed. I came up a little bit. I think it was griping about XZ Tools. So I came up, I reinstalled XZ Tools, and I went through this process here. I reinstalled Grub, Less, gzip, IP route, KBD. Came out again, got another fail. About how, something. And I said, alright, I'm at fail number 2. And it would be better for me to start over my operating system. So I had to scrap 18 hours worth of work and 18 hours worth of videos. And it was an unexpected error. So, I mean, things happen. Things happen. You can't let them stop you. Don't let your heart sink when you run into an error. Just note where the error is. And my first step of approach is I delete that package, reinstall it or re-extract it, and try it from the beginning of that particular package again. And if it goes through, and sometimes it does, and a lot of the times it does. I don't know, sometimes it's like there's so many factors involved that anything can happen. You could have your host OS could be running a program right now or doing a cron job or something else right now, and it conflicts with something that you're installing LFS with. You know? The kernel could do something as far as maybe power management or something that you don't know of, and could cause an error in building your LFS. But if you hit the error, delete the package, re-extract it, and run it, and you push through it, what was it for one? And two, when you're actually through it and you actually get a system that works, why did it even matter? You know? So there's a lot of things that can happen, especially when we're running this deep. So like I said, expect them. Just control the error. If you fail at a certain spot and you have to reinstall the system, remember where you failed, go up to that point, you know, and if you go past it, good. And if you fail, wonder why you failed. And after the second approach, maybe even do a third approach. And if you hit the same exact spot again, then you can maybe wonder why, and go to IRC or go to the forums and go to here or there, or start using the book plus a little bit more. And when I say the book plus a little bit more, I don't mean from that point on divulge or diverge off the book. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about use the book and maybe use Google. But no matter what, you should stick with the book. And a lot of the errors that we run across, they're not some supernatural thing going on, really. A lot of it's all syntax. A lot of it's syntax. You know, you could put a misplaced quote, semi, something somewhere. A lot of it's in your configure. If you misspell prefix with PRFIX, and in your hurry to make install, you may skip over that, and you make it an error that you caused here, binutils, make it this 3 hours from now, and you'll never know why, you know, and it could just be simple spelling or a slip of the key or anything else like that, you know. But the idea is you want to type in everything you're supposed to, for one. You want to read a lot. And if you run into an error, like I said, the first time I hit an error, I was I was over. I was like, oh man, I knew I couldn't do it. This is terrible. I'll never be able to do this. You know, this is way, you know, whatever. You don't even think like that. Just take a series of steps to control them. Start over. Note what they are. Start over. And if you get past it, cool. If you don't get past it, start over again. And if you still don't get past it, then you might have a problem where you might have to call for help. But a lot of people that hit an error while they're, say, 13 hours into their operating system-ish, you know, you may be way down here in section 6 something, you know, way down here, you hit an error and they stop. And when they stop, they, you know, they Google everything, or they'll go on the forums and everything else like that, like, why do I have this error? And it totally stops them up, and you could be stuck there for 2 more days figuring out why you have this error. Okay? It's not really necessary. The goal is to get the system done, you know, and the documentation does its best to tell you the most common errors. But I know for a fact I have some errors, or I've had some errors on glibc maybe. No, it's not going to show you anything here, I don't think. I've had some errors on glibc that I don't know what they were. There were a couple ignored ones. I didn't even pay attention to them. All I knew is it did not stop me from installing the rest of the operating system. So, you know, what were they? Who knows? Who knows? And that's that. Just follow the book. Follow the book. Follow the steps in the book. Don't stop unless you are made to stop. You know, when you start installing stuff from the book and you realize that, okay, now I can't install sed, I can't install bzip. Okay, now I can't get it any farther, and curses worked for me, but now I can't install shadow. When you start dropping packages like that, then that might be a good idea, a good indicator to turn around at that point. Because of an error you may have gotten either here, a previous package, or you may have caused an error in binutils, and now you get down to MPC and can't install that because of an error in binutils, right? Or you may have caused that error way back in the very, very beginning in the environment, variables and profiles. So, who knows? But, that's that. So, have a good day.